Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, this is August 23rd, 2022. I'd like to call the Bennington Development Review Board to order. First thing on our agenda today is the minutes from the previous meeting. Do we have any motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And Catherine seconds. All in favor? Opposed? None?
Okay, we do ask that everyone who presents information to the board tonight, they sign the sign-up sheet over there on the podium, and it includes the following oath statement. I solemnly swear or affirm under the pains and penalty of perjury that the statements I make, testimony I give, and other evidence I submit to the board at the board's public hearing held on this date shall be true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. And again, we just ask folks to sign in when they speak to the board this evening. The next item on our agenda is disclosure of any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest regarding the matter before the board this evening. Seeing none? Okay. All right, our one and only hearing tonight is Orchard Apartments, LLC at 916 Orchard Road. The applicant is seeking approval for a new 36-unit apartment building on Orchard Road. And I see this evening that we have John and Zach Hale seeking to present. So, John, why don't you introduce yourself, tell folks who you represent.
Okay. My name's John Hale from Hale Resources. I actually own Orchard Apartments LLC, who's the applicant for this project. We would be the general contractor and developer to do this project. Zach Hale is CFO from our Hale Resources as well, and would be a partner in this project as well. So I don't know how much you know about Orchard Apartments right now. It was once a bed and breakfast called the Alexandria Inn, and in 2014 it was foreclosed on, and we converted it to 11 apartments with the thought that this is over a 2-acre lot and definitely could utilize the space to increase the amount of housing that was there. I think it could actually hold 45 units. It's a complicated site with the elevation and the contours of it, so we found the best fit was what we've developed so far, which gets us at 41 altogether. So this is the current conditions of it. Right now there's 2 buildings on the property. This building right here is the old farmhouse, consists of 5 units. And then this is a building that's a module that was built in 1999, consists of 6 units. Our intention is to do this in 2 phases and actually build the first building over here with the common area with the stairs and elevator. And then we would remove this building and then build the second phase right along this property line here. So, and this first picture is just a rendition of what the building would look like standing from the parking lot. Over here would be, over here would be Orchard Road, and then down in the front here at the bottom of the hill is the Railroad Trestle and Harwood Hill Road. So this would actually be the layout of the property. Again, like I said, the light blue would be phase 1, where we would build this and put probably 2/3 of the parking lot in, and then remove that other building and build the second half. Each of these consisting of 18 units. There'd be a staircase on the end of each portion of the building, and then 1 staircase in the middle with an elevator. Obviously, the old farmhouse would stay with all the elm trees that are in front of it. Some of them aren't healthy, so we take them down as they die, but for the most part, this would not be touched. And there's a lot of brush and pine trees that we would leave here for screening from Harwood Hill Road so that you couldn't see the parking lot. So this is actually what the site plan would be like after the construction. As you can see with the contour lines, it's a pretty steep contour, so we would have to bring quite a bit of fill in. There'd be a retaining wall around the parking lot just to hold the banks back. we've not identified what we'd actually use there. It could be a poured wall, it could be a manufactured wall, the ready packed stones. And, you know, obviously we plant some shrubbery along here. I'm not sure if that's shown in the landscape video, setup, but there is existing vegetation here already that would screen it from Harwood Hill Road. And then obviously the buildings, which are set back, the required setback from both Orchard Road and the property line that Applegate Apartments or Orchard Village owns, which is, I guess, owned by Shires. They're registered as the property owner. And obviously here is the railroad track, and our plan is, in this previous site plan, is to have some access down to the railroad track with a set of stairs at the end of the parking lot, just to make this a trail that can be used. I know the rail trail doesn't go that far, right, Dan?
No, not currently, no.
So, but it is an open trail. What's that?
Good to think ahead.
Yeah, you never know. So,
John, can you talk about, since you're talking about trail, can you talk about the pedestrian connections that you...
oh yeah, sure. So right now there is no sidewalk on Orchard Road. There is a sidewalk on Applegate Drive, so our plan is to connect that sidewalk around the front of the building. This is a big drainage ditch, so we'd have to reconfigure how the water's drained from the street and put the sidewalk in and connect it to the Applegate Drive sidewalk. But yeah, that was something that really is a requirement from my understanding from the zoning. So it is depicted here. It's not been engineered yet, so obviously we'd have to work with the town in order to figure out what to do with the drain water here, because it comes down in down to a culvert and a storm drain here. So, and it does run down under a culvert under this driveway. So that would be things that would be required with the stormwater permit, which is obviously a state permit, as you guys know. So these are the elevations of the property. The one I really want to point out is, you know, what's facing Orchard Road. So let me move it up a little bit. Sorry, not my computer. Oh, there's always this. So this portion right here is actually what would face Orchard Road, and this is a staircase on the end of the building, but we designed this to really look like the front of the building so that, you know, the zoning requirements are that the building face the road. So although this is all balconies and sidewalk and an entrance over here, this is actually an entrance to the building that appears to be the front of the building. That's depicted here too. And the total height of the building is, I think, 35 feet we're at, to the very peak, which is well within the height limits of that building. We also are doing shed dormers, but we're doing this roof line here to meet the minimum requirement for pitch. Any questions so far? So I just wanted to kind of show what the floor plans are. Our plan is, each floor is identical. There's, in each module of the building, there's 2 one-bedrooms and then 2 two-bedrooms. So a total is actually 4 two-bedrooms. So there's 6 per floor, 18 per building, total of 36 altogether. So that's 12 one-bedrooms. So that would leave 24 two-bedrooms. And obviously an elevator, 3 stairways. There would only be 2 to begin with in the first phase because the common area is being built with the first phase. I'm not going to go through every floor unless you'd like to see them. And then this
Sam,
is...
you'll have a chance at the end of the... Oh, okay. Sorry, John.
And then this is just how the roof is laid out. So with the peaks in each, you know, section. So this is the landscape. So our plan is you know, there's a requirement for trees in the parking lot and green space, which we've identified here. These mostly are going to, all around the parking lot are going to be new trees. These as well. There is some trees here, but you know, what is not depicted, I think there's a couple new trees that we depict here. These all are original elm trees that are here. There is some vegetation here that that is not on this because it's already there, but it depends on what kind of vegetation. Some of it is just like bittersweet and stuff like that. So our plan may develop a little further just to hide this retention wall. I mean, that's something that I would want, but you know, any requirements that you guys would have, we'd be more than willing to abide by. So I just kind of wanted to show the lighting outline, you know. So we went to the manufacturer for the lighting that we're considering using, and this kind of gives you an idea of what the lighting level is throughout the parking lot. And you know, it's within the limits that the zoning requires. It doesn't go onto anybody's other property, but it does give full illumination of the parking lot for visibility at night. And then I included this because I just wanted to kind of show, we went and really kind of figured what would be seen if somebody 6 feet tall would be standing in Orchard or Harvard Hill Road down on the pavement. So kind of gives you a site where you don't really see much of the building because of the elevation. It's a pretty steep, as you can see in this picture, it's pretty steep right here by the road. Barely get a lawnmower on it, really. So you know, you'll see some of the cars that are parked here, but for the most part, the whole parking lot will be hidden, and not much of the building will be seen unless you get far away. So, and obviously these pictures are what it looks like today. Just, oops. And this is the vegetation I was mentioning that's growing right here. So there is some evergreen trees, but there's a lot of weeds further down. These evergreens would probably have to go. They're going to be in the parking lot, and they actually have some beetle that eats them, and all the needles have fallen off. So I don't think they're going to survive much longer, anyways. Sorry for the spring cleanup not done yet. But, I mean, that's really the overview of the project. You know, our engineers have designed it so it's within the scope of the zoning requirements. You know, Dan and I have worked very close together to make sure that any corrections that we needed to make to present to you guys were addressed before we got here. So if you got any questions, I'm more than willing to ask. If I don't have them, I will get them for you.
Okay, we'll take questions from the board first
Sure.
before we take any public input. So anything from the board? Kat?
Yeah, thanks, John. Could you go back to the slide that has the landscaping?
Sure.
Just to walk me through with all of the new pavement with the parking areas and the retaining wall, I see there's a highlighted stormwater treatment area in that bottom right corner. Can you just tell me a little bit about that? Is that going to capture all of the stormwater generated in the parking lot?
So, Kat, we have not done any boring to determine what the drainage is of the property. That's a requirement of the state. So, I mean, that's our intention. We also talked about putting it down here as well. But with all the slope, we may end up having to put something underneath the parking lot in tanks that drains out on a slower, you know, the requirement grades.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we haven't done that drilling yet. We're trying to hold that off until we got to the Act 250 permitting and the stormwater permitting. But I mean, there obviously we would have to do what's required of the state and, you know, maintain what the 10-year rain level is and make sure we can drain the property the same way it's drained today. So for the amount of parking we have today, we do not have a stormwater permit because it's not required, because it's just a small parking lot. I think it's 12 spaces or 16 spaces, I think. So.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you don't have the answers yet.
Yeah.
But because of the, you know, challenging topography, it's helpful to kind of hear that those are the different options that are on the table to solve the problem.
Yeah, we talked about it. The engineer wanted to do the drilling before we came to the DRB, but you know, we're working on a budget to get ourselves to each section of this project. So the pre-development for the Act 250 includes the stormwater permit, and then we'll obviously have to show the engineering for that when we do it. So.
And John, you did say something, which is, I just wanted to clarify, is one of the criteria for the state stormwater permit, which this does require, is that there can be no more stormwater generated by this that goes off-site from this property than it currently is. So there can be no additional impact from what is currently
Correct.
occurring there. So
That's correct, Dan. Thank you.
they won't get a permit unless they can prove that
Right.
and get their state stormwater permit. Yeah, it's a difficult criteria, but it's something that everybody has to meet in the state of Vermont.
Right. And Craig and I at Otter Creek have talked about that, so he's prepared to do that. It's just we've not pulled the trigger to determine what that requirement is yet.
Jane?
Strange. That's just a picky question. Behind the center community space to the upper part of the drawing,
Yeah.
you've got that T, which I assume is
It's right here.
Yeah.
So there's a sidewalk right here.
So it connects, so you can go out the middle and go and join the path that goes across.
That's our plan. We have not talked to Shires yet about connecting to that. I mean, we would like to do this as an extra entrance so that, people walking, but, Shires would have to make that determination if we can actually use their sidewalk like that. We are doing this part. I mean, that is a guaranteed. The sidewalk ends here right now, so we would just connect it here so that it is connected to that sidewalk.
And I assume that on the right-hand side where the wall end curves back,
Yeah.
that that's also the same thing, that the topography is such that it comes back and is a retaining wall?
It is, and it only goes to the property line.
Okay.
That's why it's at an angle here. We're trying to get it back up the grade so that we can die it into the grade. Because again, this is all, you can see the contour lines. It's pretty steep here. This is probably the steepest part of the property, and then down in the front here. You're welcome.
John, I have a question about abutting neighbors. Is Shire's property, that's Shire's housing, property abut this property?
It does.
So
yes.
it kind of cuts behind the two homes that are?
Yes, there's actually a home here, and I think there's another one over here, which there's quite a bit of vegetation over here. We'd be removing some of it, but not all of it would be removed. And there's Applegate Drive here too, so.
Right. Okay, so, but on Orchard Road, okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
This is Orchard Road
Yeah.
here.
Okay, so you would definitely abut Shire's housing property with
Yes.
this property?
Yes, we do
Okay.
today, and there's a stockade, or, I guess I would consider a stockade fence, and then quite a few kind of weed trees. What are they, dogwood trees that attract the little bugs, the stink bugs? Yeah, they're all along here, and half of them are dead anyway, so a lot of bittersweet growing there, so it's pretty unsightly, and the fence is falling down in the middle of the trees, so. We don't know who owns the fence. We talked about it, but haven't figured that out, so. But with this project, that would change, so we didn't really make us think about it at this point. So yes, but there is two homes that are over here, and I guess there are 4 units there. I don't know if those are 2 or 4.
I
so.
don't know, yeah.
Did I answer your question, Dan?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jane.
How wide is the lane? Is that road?
I would think that
Right
it,
of way?
yeah, it's a,
40 feet?
It's private property, so
It's enough for 2 cars to drive through.
To that next house, that's all. And how much of it's road and then?
well, I can pretty much tell you that
Just was critical.
John, he's just going to try to answer.
there's a sidewalk. This is pretty green. There's probably, I would say, at least 30 to 40 feet before you get to the road. And the roads must be at least 25 feet wide because 2 cars can fit down it at the same time. And there's this sidewalk that goes all the way down and around the whole complex there. So,
Thank you.
but there's quite a buffer in between Applegate and our property line.
Any other board questions? Any questions from the public? So I will ask you to sign in to the affidavit before you, and then also please state your name and your town. And public, please address the questions to the board, not directly to the developer.
Hi, my name's Ken Goings, Chief of the Bennington Rural Fire Department. The only thing there was a couple of things. First thing is, if there's any chance of getting a fire hydrant put at the entrance, so it would be a shorter lay for us, being the size of the building.
Okay, any other questions?
And then the other thing I had was, if we could go back to the other screen to see the height of the balconies.
I think that's on one of them.
I'm looking.
Yep, that one.
So it looks like the level 3 balconies floor, 19 feet.
Just making sure our ladders, our extension ladders would reach the post. So that's really it. If there was a chance that between the town and this project, whether or not they could put a fire hydrant at the entrance. That's all I had.
All right. Well,
John, you want to try to address that?
Yeah, a fire hydrant would be fine. You know, I mean, obviously that would probably be supplied by the town and we purchase it and put it in. Is that how that works, Dan? I've never put a fire hydrant in.
Yeah, likely we could supply the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
You know.
So we're putting in a 6-inch main anyways because the building is going to be sprinklered. So, you know, to put a fire hydrant tee in and actually mount a hot fire hydrant there, I'm sure it's something we could work with the town to accommodate. Not a problem. It's just, it'd be better for our insurance anyway, so. And there will be a hookup on the building, obviously, to hook to the sprinkler
good.
system.
Just
It's
please
a
use the
requirement.
microphone. Use the microphone.
When you mentioned sprinkler, do you know if there's going to be an automatic fire alarm system in the building?
John, do you know?
Because of the size of this building, there'd be a monitored fire alarm system, yes, with pull stations.
That's required?
Yeah, it's a 13R, or 13 actually, that's requires it. So this is way over what a small residential system would require. So yes, there'll be a full fire alarm system in the building.
And to clarify, it's fully sprinklered as well, too.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Sprinkled, and it has a fire notification.
Yeah, well, that's all code required by the state.
Next person back there? Sorry. Oh, Sam?
I'm so used to having a microphone in here. Sam Racino from Bennington, Vermont. Most of my questions have been answered. On this project here, can we go to the site map? Or just,
Yes, sir.
There's no mic there. Oh, what?
yeah. Does this warrant 2 egresses for emergency? There's only one entrance and exit. Do you have to have a project this size? Does it warrant for an emergency
It's
exit?
an apartment building, so one entrance is sufficient.
It's sufficient, okay. What's the demand for our, as you know, we've got an aging sewer system. What's the demand on our sewer system where it discharges out? Is one of my questions. How much traffic is going to be generated from the trestle side of 7A? Wastewater is to be determined. And of course, with apartments this size, where your dumpster recycle is going to be located.
I'm sorry, what was that last one, Sam? Sam? What was that last question? I didn't catch it.
The one on your dumpster recycle.
Okay.
You know, where are they located? You put them in, they boxed in, fenced in.
Now, I will say there was a traffic presentation, Sam, as part of the packet. And so if you'd like that, we could give you the traffic presentation. So you can have that. And
It's hard to pull it up online, but thank you.
So I can address the water sewer allocation that's been granted, and we don't have any problem servicing this property from a town's perspective.
okay, I was going to mention that was requested.
And John, you can,
We actually had a letter from Craig Jewett from Otter Creek that actually did the research to determine what the wastewater was and what the water usage was going to be, and the system capacity on Orchard Road would easily handle this facility.
Do you want to talk about where the dumpster or the trash?
Well, yeah, we actually had it depicted in the site plan that our dumpster's gonna be down at the end of the parking lot here, down here. And obviously it'll be fenced in.
Great.
It's a little tricky where to put this because we need the parking for the amount of apartments and we need to have a garbage truck get in there. But talking with the garbage people, they said that they could get into that spot, so.
Yes, ma'am?
Nancy White, would you know what this is going to generate for property taxes to the town?
There's no way to know that, Nancy, until it's constructed.
You don't know
but
it?
it's
Okay.
irrelevant to the review of the DRB.
Does anybody know if Molly Stark is at capacity? If not, would anybody know how much room they have? And I didn't catch the apartments. Was it 24 two-bed and 12 one-bed?
Yes.
And how many parking spaces total? Of that, how many are handicapped?
John, can you answer that?
Yeah, I think we have 4 handicap spots. Actually, 3 was the requirement because we need 3 handicap units. So we have 1 for each.
I'm sorry, how many total spaces?
I think we were at 65.
Okay. All right, and you said your trash is going to be screened with a fence?
That's the requirement.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Right, and this isn't really I'm not speaking for the school district in any way, but I used to be a member of the local school board, and once a school board has its census of enrollment, they will redistrict if necessary, but I just know from history that our school-age population has been decreasing. So I can't speak for the school board, but my guess is that there's probably capacity.
Yeah. And John, you did say this is an Act 250 project, so there will
Yes.
be a questionnaire that the school has to answer as far as ability to serve. So if they can't, which we know that's not likely, obviously that has to be addressed, but
Yep,
that
I
would be
understand
an
that.
Act 250 criteria.
For knowing what's happening in the school systems, I don't think that'd be an issue, but that's not up to me to determine.
Especially now that you have a unified district where they can easily move.
Understood.
I know, it's not fun for the school board to do, but.
Or for the parents.
But I mean, that would be a requirement of the Act 250, as you said, Dan, so.
I will say that a recent development that didn't require Act 250 was going to be built in a school district that was at capacity. And one of the conditions of the permit was that folks from that particular development would have to go to another school so that they would know right up front that they weren't going to the school that they would normally be going to in that district. So there are ways to handle these things. I do not think this is an issue here, but again, it will be, you won't get an Act 250 permit if the school can't
Right.
handle the kids, so.
And that's something that the state would determine,
Yeah.
not the developer, so.
Yes, ma'am?
Karen Collins from Bennington. Currently, there's a LP tank located at the only egress, and I was concerned about maybe where that would be relocated because it looks like it might be occupying that space.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Sorry,
hear
my
The
that.
LP tank
Okay, no.
is near the egress now, and I was just wondering.
John, is there LP?
There's currently an LP tank, and it is shown in this picture, but our plan is to bury it where only the building, the older building will be using the propane. Our plan is to use heat pumps at this point for heating and cooling. So the propane tank would only be for the 5 units. And it would be
Currently, it
buried.
serves all 11?
What's that?
It currently serves all 11 units?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And it's shielded behind the fence and not seen from the street. But with all the excavation we're doing, it would be silly not to bury it.
Currently, I live at this facility, and they allow pets in where we are now. I was curious if they're going to allow pets in the new buildings.
That really doesn't fall under our
Okay.
our authority in any way.
It comes down to green space, because I have a pup, actually. And, you know, where we play and bathroom, if you will, now it's going to be parking lot. That's why I was concerned about how much green space there would be.
And there's requirement, and this meets it. So this meets the requirements for the green space for this zoning area.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So this plan would meet the green space
Okay.
requirements of the zoning area.
Okay. And I was curious how far up to the old rail trail will be cut down?
How far of the what?
How much of the green would be cut down in between, like the parking lot and the rail trail?
When you say cut down, you mean just cleared as
Cleared.
lawn or?
Cleared, yeah, for lawn or,
John, what would you say for that? I mean, I don't think there's a requirement, is there, Dan?
No,
about-
but you won't, there's a
What's lawn,
there's a
what's
very
not.
large right-of-way there that the railroad controls, and John will not have any control over that. So whether he wanted to clear it or not, he can't. So that will remain the way it is.
okay. And I guess my concern is because there's some people that walk through there that don't have always good intentions, I suppose. So that was my concern.
It's not really anything that John can do anything about.
Thank you.
A lot more population.
Yeah. Yeah, be less likely, more people.
Sam?
Any solar on this project? Is there more
Again,
on the
that's
roof line?
not really a
No,
requirement.
well, I thought when you build a
You can
structure,
ask.
you try to make it as green and as efficient as possible with
We
the
have to
carbon
follow the
footprint.
requirements in the land use and development regulations. We do not require solar, but John, if you're.
I can address that. We're going to construct the roof to hold solar panels. We've not developed a plan for solar panels at this point, but we are incorporating enough of the load on the roof trusses to handle solar panels installed.
And
So
then,
it's a little premature to get to that point. I mean, we haven't even designed our building yet, so.
and you
but
said you anticipate heat pumps on the new building?
we do anticipate heat pumps.
So that's all electric.
That's correct.
Last chance, folks? Nancy? Oh,
Nancy, you'll have to come up to the, they can't hear at home.
I didn't hear if it was said, will these all be private pay apartments?
John, can you answer that, or,
It's not
Yeah, they're
relevant, but
good.
if you know
This is
the
all going to be market rate apartments, yes.
and Ronnie, did you have something?
Yeah, about snow removal, what are the plow that thing? We're gonna put the snow.
Good question. I mean, we're obviously going to have some snow removal as we plow. It all depends on the winter, so. I don't have a good answer for that.
Thank you.
Okay, what's the board's pleasure?
Make a motion to go into deliberative session.
Jane, second. All in favor? All right, folks, so that closes the public session. As a quasi-judicial board, we typically will meet in deliberative session just with the board. So thank you very
And
much.
by tomorrow, I should have at least a preliminary decision that will issue a written decision within the week, probably sooner.